What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, we're going to be talking about a very fresh topic. And now, when I say very fresh topic, I mean a topic that literally news dropped just today, just a few hours ago, and that is that Browns' current tight end, David Njoku, has officially asked and is seeking a trade. And we're going to be talking about should Bill Belichick, should the New England Patriots jump on the opportunity to make a trade for Njoku. The good thing about Njoku is the fact that he's still pretty new here to the league. He was actually selected by the Browns in the first round of the 2017 draft and is still just 23 years old. Height-wise, he's not going to bring anything too spectacular, at least compared to what we already have. He only sits at about 6'4", 247 pounds, so he's not going to bring that 6'5", 6'6" type of build that I'm sure a lot of us would like, as Matt Lacoste is the only one that fills that build at 6'6". Now, something to monitor is the fact that David Njoku and his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, actually asked the Cleveland Browns, look, can you make this happen before training camp? They don't want this to be a long, thought-out process to the point where he's getting traded right in the middle of training camp or right before the season, which ends up plaguing him. So it seems like everybody's on the same page. David Njoku finally wants a trade. He asked for it. It sounds like the Cleveland Browns are willing to make the trade. So at some point within the next few weeks, it seems like David Njoku will be getting shipped off to a team that, of course, is not known yet. I think at this point it also makes sense for both sides to have a trade. It makes sense for David Njoku. He's not that number one tight end. The Browns were now in free agency. They got Austin Hooper. He's the immediate plug-in for that number one tight end. So you're David Njoku. You're sitting at that number two, number three on the depth chart at the tight end position. And when you were selected in the first round in 2017, you're still young. You're still in your prime. You have a lot to prove. And I think that if you're David Njoku, you haven't really been put in the position, at least the best position, to succeed. There's been a lot of things that have happened with the Cleveland Browns, through quarterbacks, through personnel. As when I say personnel, I mean coaches. It just seems like the Browns have been essentially everywhere over the past few seasons, especially since Njoku has been drafted. And now that they pushed him to not even that starter position, it makes sense that he wants to go somewhere where he can really show what he's capable of. And if you're the Cleveland Browns, the guy doesn't want to be in your system. He's seeking a trade. Essentially, at this point, he's not your number one guy. Why not get something out of him? Now, this past season, there's nothing too crazy statistically to talk about with David Njoku, more so just because of injuries that kind of plagued him. He broke his wrist and suffered a concussion all in week 2 of the 2019 season. He only ended up playing 2 more games after that and ended up finishing this past season with just 5 receptions for 41 yards and 1 touchdown. So if you look at 2018, the more recent showcase where he's been able to, again, showcase what he's been able to do. In 2018, he had 56 receptions for 639 yards and 4 touchdowns. I should also add that in 2018, he finished that year averaging 11.4 yards per reception. So clearly he's a tight end that is really able to stretch the field, which is exactly what the New England Patriots could use, especially after losing Rob Gronkowski. He was that guy that was really able to stretch the field, and the New England Patriots have not had a guy at all since Gronk to really be able to do that. Even in Gronk's last year with the Patriots, in which he was a shell of himself, he wasn't a guy that was really able to stretch the field. So it's been a few seasons for the New England Patriots. Now, in 2017, which was his rookie season, he also put up pretty respectable numbers, again, considering the situation down there in Cleveland. Now, he was targeted 60 times with 32 receptions for 386 yards, 4 touchdowns, and averaged 12.1 yards per reception. Again, when you look at Njoku's statistics, a big thing you have to remember is the atmosphere and just everything that's gone on with Cleveland over the past few years. I mean, Cleveland's just kind of that place where players don't really want to go to because developmental-wise, players just aren't really able to exceed what they could be. A perfect example that all Patriots fans would know of is Jamie Collins. Jamie Collins was going off the rails with New England, was all-pro, was just one of the best linebackers at that time, while with the New England Patriots during his first stint, gets traded to the Cleveland Browns for a few seasons, does not do well. Not well at all. Wasn't even a first-string starter for them down there in Cleveland. A lot of times they were actually listening to trade offers and were possibly releasing him. And then he comes back to the New England Patriots and in 1 year shows exactly what he's made of. So when we're talking about him making the transition from Cleveland to New England and from a coaching staff that is not good at developing players, is all over the place, to New England, who is arguably the best team when it comes to developing players, Njoku could really turn it around to be a top tight end in this league. Now, I'm not saying top 3, but even if they get a top 5 or even at least a top 10 tight end in David Njoku, that could be really beneficial compared to what they already have right now. Something nice here, too, is the fact that he would add some decent speed at the tight end position, ran a 4.6 40-yard dash. That is just a bit faster than Gronk was. He's not going to be like a Brandon Cooks tight end or something like that, but he's, for a tight end, pretty fairly decent at the speed. He would also be able to provide something that the New England Patriots have question marks at the tight end position, and that is a surefire starting caliber tight end who is, one, athletic, but two, has the large frame to help the Patriots out in the red zone. Let's remember that right now they don't have a guy that's able to do that, at least a proven guy that's able to do that. We'll have to kind of see what happens with Asiasi and Keene. The great thing, too, about David Njoku is that he really is just one of those all-around tight ends, which, again, I think the New England Patriots need. Right now, essentially, the only all-around tight end right now that I would say they have would be Asiasi. You don't have Matt Lacoste being a nice all-around tight end. He's more of a pass catcher. Ryan Izzo, I wouldn't say, is an all-around tight end. Dalton Keene, he has the ability to, but I would say right now he's more of a blocker. Just a lot of question marks with him. So essentially, it just comes down to Asiasi. If the Patriots could add another guy who's able to be a strong blocker, but also an excelling pass catcher, it could be really beneficial for them, especially because Cam Newton has really been able to excel with bigger and taller targets. And the Patriots already have some of those in N'Keal Harry, in Asiasi, and Mohamed Sanu, and I think adding that presence of David Njoku could really give him a big, large, sure-handed body throughout that middle of the field that I would say could kind of fill that role of the Greg Olsen that down in Carolina they had with Cam Newton a few years ago. From what's being talked about around the league today so far, at least, things of course could change, and I'll make updates if anything drastically does change, but it's sounding like a 4th or a 5th is kind of around that area draft capital wise, that it's looking teams are going to be willing to give up for David Njoku. So it's not going to be like the Patriots have to give up a 1st-round pick or a 2nd-round pick or a 3rd-round pick, possibly a 3rd round. We'll just kind of have to see how it goes, but you don't have to give anything high like a 1st or 2nd-round pick. So the New England Patriots definitely are in play here if they want to. What does suck, though, is the fact that the New England Patriots did just lose a 3rd-round pick. This could have really helped the Patriots out in this type of position. I don't know if Bill Belichick would want to give up our only 3rd-round pick at this point, but the New England Patriots do have multiple 4th-round picks to be able to work with for the 2021 draft, so I definitely would say that they are in play here. The other part here is the fact that the Patriots aren't sitting at a position cap-wise where they're really able to do much. They already didn't have anything before Cam Newton, and now they have even less. So Njoku is expected to take up about $3 million in cap. So this is bad in the sense of, hey, the New England Patriots currently don't have that. They would have to maneuver some things around, but it's only $3 million. That is not too hard to free up. I mean, that is a Matt Lacoste cut and a few other transactions or a Rex Burkhead cutter trade. So it's nothing too crazy. It's not like he's taking up $5-10 million for this upcoming season. So when you put in the factor of, hey, it's only a $3 million cap hit and they're talking about 4th to 5th draft pick, the New England Patriots really could be in play as long as it's something that they would like to do. Now, the Cleveland Browns did recently decide to pick up his 5th-year option. So if they hadn't picked up his 5th-year option, he would have actually been in contract year. But luckily enough for whoever decides to land David Njoku, they will actually have him signed for 2020 and 2021. But the thing to note about 2021 is because they've picked up that 5th-year option, that 5th-year option, it can be a bit pricey. So in 2021, he'll be expected to make a base salary of around $6 million. So it's a bit hefty, but of course, the team could always trade him after 2020 if they don't like what they see. They don't want to pick up that $6 million, which ultimately means that David Njoku is expected to be an unrestricted free agent in 2022. For me personally, I can see both sides of Patriots fans or analysis. Anyone who thinks one, the Patriots should or one, the Patriots shouldn't, I'm at a bit of a crossroads with it. I would lean more to the side of, let's just kind of, let's see what's happening. Let's see what people are giving up. Let's see the price. And then, hey, go from there, right? Because currently, when you look at the big hole that I think the New England Patriots have, the bigger question is tight end than it is receiver. And I think a lot of people are giving more questions to receiver than it is tight end, which I don't really agree with. I understand there are questions at wide receiver, but I think there's more at the tight end position. I don't have faith in Matt LaCosse. He showed that he can't really do much when he's on the field, and that is when he's on the field because usually he's just getting injured. Ryan Izzo, I like Ryan Izzo, but is he going to make a huge difference? No, he's not going to. And then you have Asiasi and Dalton Keene, 2 third-round tight end draft picks by the New England Patriots. And that's kind of my thing here. That kind of what had me going both ways is because the Patriots just drafted 2 high-rounded tight ends. And I would love to see them play. I would love to see their development. But at the same time, we don't know what to expect from them. We don't know if they're going to end up being flops, if they're going to make true day one, year one impacts. And I think when you look at what the New England Patriots are doing now, they are still in a win-now mode. The New England Patriots are still building for the future, but they're clearly not at a point where they're backing up and going, we're okay with just being a mediocre team. They signed Cam Newton to help at the quarterback position, help the offense in general. They added a lot of depth behind the offensive line. They have faith in the wide receiver core. If you can make one big impact to the tight end position, a guy who's young, who has the ability, of course, formerly being a first-round pick, and is just a nice all-around tight end, could be what really bolsters and helps our offense heading into next season. It could be, again, very beneficial for Cam Newton. It also could be good for these younger tight ends, Asiasi, Dalton Keene, to work with a former first-round pick, a guy who's been in the league for a few years and kind of help navigate some things out. He's not a full-on veteran, but he's been in the league longer than Asiasi or Keene, so it could help them out. I mean, at the tight end position, too, the New England Patriots did have some question marks. Like, they don't even know how they're going to use Keene right now. They might not even be using him at the tight end position, or at least a whole lot for this upcoming season. So that means Asiasi essentially could be the only one. I think if you have Asiasi and a guy like Njoku, that's a perfect time where you can use those 2 tight end sets because you have 2 guys extremely available and have the ability to do this. And hey, if Asiasi goes down and Njoku goes down, you have another guy to be able to back up with. But that is going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on David Njoku? Would you like to see the New England Patriots trade for him, or would you pass on him? Let me know what you're thinking in the comment section below. Make sure you guys give this video a big thumbs up. It would help me and the video and the channel out so much. And hey, consider subscribing for all of your New England Patriots content if you have not already. But like always, thank you all so much for watching.